Happy holidays, friends. Bricky here, sharing with you a little bit of Christmas magic. This is turning out to be an unbelievable Disney Christmas for me, and we're not even into December yet. As many of you may know, coming up soon on the channel, I'll be taking you to my first ever trip to Tivoli Gardens, going to the real Matterhorn, staying at the base at Zermatt for a couple of days, and as well, my first ever trip to Disneyland Paris. But I was given an amazing Disney Christmas gift already, where I got to spend yesterday at Walt Disney Studios. Now, I'd been on the lot before, and I'd been to the studio before, but I never got to do their tour. And let me tell you, it was a day of absolute Disney magic, Disney dreams come true, and we had an amazing ghost host who quickly understood these fellas know a lot about Disney, so I'm not gonna give them the 101 tour, I'm gonna give them the hardcore tour. Now, let me just kind of set up your expectations. You are not allowed to take any audio or video recording when you do the tour, so I took lots of photos, and I'll essentially be giving you a slideshow of what I saw, but more importantly, like how it felt to see all of these little pieces, you know, the Disney story that I've been learning, and I've been on this journey of reading the newspaper every single day from 1955 and putting together like all of Walt's missing pieces in his path to, you know, literally changing the face of entertainment. Yesterday, I got to see how all of these pieces connect and go through them one at a time. So hopefully this sounds like a fun little video and a fun little catch up and a fun little way to share with you guys how my love of Walt Disney and his path in life as an unbelievable creative director, it just keeps growing, and I just keep finding new people that show me the way a little bit further. So I want to just say first off, thanks to Amazing Tour Guide, and thanks to my friend who gave this to me as a Disney holiday gift. I appreciate you so much and everything you've ever done for me. All right, let's break down what it is that I saw. So first things first, you kind of get to walk through some of the buildings, but just seeing the buildings felt so real, and it always does anytime I've been fortunate enough to be on the lot, because Disney famously used a lot of the buildings as the backdrop of the early programming for Disneyland. You know, Disneyland the TV show, they really used their lot as a backdrop or as a set. And that idea would continue with Disneyland, and thinking about every place that they built as kind of what is the visual story that we want to communicate. So the lot feels distinctly Disney in its design era, its color motif, but also I love the history and the idea of preservation. You know, one of the things as Disney fans that we love about the park is whenever they have an opportunity, they always try to hold over a piece from yesteryear, or Yesterland, which is one of my favorite websites. But at the studios, there's actually buildings, the ones that I'll show you right now, that are from the Hyperion lot. These are buildings that they decided when they moved from Hyperion over to Burbank that it was cheaper to actually break down the buildings and haul them over. So these buildings go back to the beginning of the first ever studio in California, and I just love that that's something that lives on in the parks as well. You know, a seasoned Disneyland or Disney Parks fan will always be able to tell you the little pieces that are around an attraction from whatever it was in its first or second or third incarnation. A portion of the tour shows you, you know, animation and the cartoons, but you know, coming from the world of illustration and producing entertainment, like that part isn't as magical to me, but getting to see some of the different presentations of Walt Disney, obviously that meant a lot. Getting to see where the offices were for the 9 old men were great, but kind of the first real impactful and emotional moment is there's a hallway where it's basically a timeline of Walt Disney's life. And as soon as I walked into this hallway, the very first thing that hit me is at the end of the hallway is it's a still from Walt when he's doing the Epcot special. And as soon as I got in the hallway and I saw the color photo at the end, life size of Walt, I'm like, oh, that's the end right there. That's the end of the line. And our tour guide was like, spoiler alert. I'm like, yeah, no. Whenever I see any of the Epcot footage, I just know that, you know, Walt's in his last days, and he's, you know, just trying his hardest to future cast what he wants to happen, so maybe in his absence, some of his vision can come into reality. And with Epcot being my favorite non-Disneyland park, that was a really, really heavy moment. And there's so many beautiful photos of Walt's life, but I was just kind of fixated on that image. And I knew that probably around the bend of that image, I was going to get to go to a place that I had dreamed of going for quite some time. So before you get to go to Walt's office, there's a little lobby area, and it was fun to think about what it must have been like to sit in that lobby, nervous to pitch Mr. Disney your wild idea. You walk into a small little area where his receptionist would be, but then you get to see what you really want to see is Walt's business office. Now, the business office has, family heirlooms, has all the different little things that he loved, and, looking at his desk and just being like, these are his pencils, his notepads and his ledger and all kinds of, real little pieces of Walt. It was insane to just be like, these are all his instruments. And in his absence, Dave Smith, who's in charge of, good morning, Dave Smith, who's in charge, or was in charge, I should say, and founded the Disney Archives, he perfectly put together Walt's office exactly the way that it was the day that he died. So it is preserved, to be as accurate as possible. There's a couple of pieces that aren't original. For example, the main long white couch that, they had to refabricate that. But it's essentially exactly how it was when Walt was using it. So it kind of gives you a real idea of the man's business space. This was his business space. This was the first office that he had. And I've been in big meetings and I've had to pitch ideas before, and I've had an agent that was trying to sell me to networks, and I know what that moment feels like. And to imagine sitting on the other side of Mr. Disney, it was just so unreal. But as much as I love this office and seeing kind of the business side of Walt's brain, I was super excited because I knew what was going to come next. And what comes next is the war room, the creative room. And what I love about Walt's creative flow is that he had one office for doing business, the first one, but then he had a second office for creativity. And I love creating the firewall of, over here is where we look at numbers and logistics, but in this room is where we look at creativity, blue sky, and what if. And seeing the Disneyland war map up on the wall with all the little note cards of his future vision of where things were going to go, and it's not accurate. That's not where they ended up putting Small World. But just seeing his vision into Disneyland and knowing that the man loved to have a big poster of his creation that he could probably sit at and gaze at and actually have the availability to go, what if I moved this over to here and put something in this spot? He was literally forecasting Disneyland's future in this room, which, by the way, also has a full kitchen, which isn't too different than Walt's apartment. Humble brag, I've been to both. But getting into this space, and I did something smart. I let everybody kind of circle out, and then I would end up being the last one in both of these spaces. So I would literally just have a moment to be there by myself, and it just felt so good. I mean, so unbelievably good. Aside from this, I got to see where they built Disneyland, the big studio where on the pre-opening day report, they're building the Mark Twain in there, they're putting together all kinds of attractions, they're testing the Jungle Cruise, just to get to see where all of these pieces come together and to get to see all these different buildings, it just meant so much to me. But kind of to wrap this up, the thing that maybe meant the most is at the end of a long day and doing this tour, and I'm at Disneyland the next day and I'm flying to Vegas for work, and I have all my projects and I'm planning out my European trip and all the content that I want to make. I was walking out to my car and I felt tired and kind of stressed out with a lot on my mind, like I do all the time. I mean, you're probably no different. And then it hit me that I was walking out to my car in the exact same place where Walt Disney walked several nights, feeling the exact same way. And what I love about my channel and my content is I cover all of this as a creative that understands the world of creativity and how projects are managed and come to life. Getting to see the business and the creativity and to go inside of Walt's world, but see it knowing how it all works, not needing a tour guide to explain it to me, but knowing that my life experience and my heart could kind of guide me through what he was thinking and why he would want 2 offices, why he would want the chairs put together the way that he would, and why you need a couch, because sometimes you just have to lay down because your head is spinning with so many different opportunities. It just made, once again, this myth, this man, this creative legend, just feel more tangible and feel more real. And it made my struggles feel really relatable to his. I think at the end of the day, we pick our heroes based on people that we see a little bit of ourselves in. And living in Walt's world yesterday and walking out to my car, tired, thinking about the next 10 projects and the day that I just lived, it all just made it feel that much more familiar. It was an amazing, amazing opportunity getting to stand next to a partner statue. They're like, no, you can stand next to him, you can touch him. I'm like, it feels wrong to stand next to a partner statue. But getting to see the Michael Eisner building, and who's designed by Michael Graves, who's an architect who did the Humana building back home where I come from in Louisville. The Humana building was the first time that I ever saw architecture and realized that something was different and creative. I've been following Michael Graves' career before I even discovered my love of Disneyland. So there's just these loopholes that bring me back to I was destined to be a creative, and this creative path just gets stronger the more that I understand the legacy, the history, and the philosophy of Walt Disney, one of the world's greatest creative directors. See, I don't get hung up on that he wasn't a good artist. I get hung up on that he was possibly the greatest creative director of the last 100 years. And that's what I hold on, because ultimately it takes a selfless person to be able to guide talent and try to get the best from all of these people that you realize have something unbelievably special in them that you think that you can coach out to let everyone in your team hit their maximum greatness. It was an amazing day. I could go on forever, but I feel like this is a great place to stop. Thanks so much to our amazing tour guide. Thank you to my friend who gifted this to me. It was literally like an unbelievable early birthday gift and Christmas gift on what's shaping up to be an unbelievable Disney Christmas. So thank you so much. I truly feel humbled that anybody is on this path with me. And it is the first morning of Christmas, which is my favorite day of the year at the park. And my heart is in my throat. And it's gonna stay there for the 2.5 hours that I get. So thank you for watching. Thank you to everybody who's on this journey with me. And may I say for the first time, happy holidays. I'll see you after my short break, and we'll kick off the official holiday season on Hey Bricky. It's been a fun 100 days. I can't wait to kick off another one real soon. Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays.